Hello, welcome to Heart Standard. My name is Craig Cairns. I'm joined by the editor of Heart Standard himself, Joe Sked. Joe, I've been off since about Friday, pretty much. What have I missed?
The worst performance of the season so far, and performance which I probably put in the category one below because of the context and everything that happened around it. The category below Brora and Livingston 5-0. I would put it in the same category as the replay against Hibs in the Scottish Cup, where we blew a 2-goal lead and then went to Isa Road and put in probably the most pitiful derby performance certainly I can remember. And obviously we know what happened that year in the Scottish Cup, but what a way to start what a way to start a podcast.
I actually did watch it. It was a tough watch. I was prepared for a defeat because of just the midweek exertions, a lot of game, poor form, all the injuries, kind of and suspensions, all that catching up with them. I was kind of prepared for a defeat, but they still managed to get my hopes up that things were going to be okay, and then blow it. I mean, they couldn't have gone about it a worse way, to be honest.
No.
A win would have been acceptable. Not acceptable, but I think a win would have been more understandable if it had just been like a normal run-of-the-mill, we didn't really turn up. But the fact that played the entire game pretty much against 10 men and didn't create or look like creating, it's quite inexcusable, really, and it's very worrying.
But see, it is absolutely. But you see, if it was one of those where we threw everything at it, and Kieran O'Hara, who came on in the second half, had the game of his life. Kelly were blocking everything. It just wasn't followed. Even then, you're thinking, right, that's a really bad result. But I mean, at least looked like scoring, or if we played for another 5 minutes, surely would have found a way through. Could still be playing now and still be struggling to break down the Kelly defence, still crossing it to the four centre backs that they had. So yeah, it was the manner of it. And Neil Critchley said it today. We've not put the have had issues putting the interview up on YouTube, but it'll be coming soon. But he said that Sunday was a red flag.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely understand what he mean for him, because it was probably the first. He said it was probably the first time he'd seen that kind of performance, or even beyond the performance, the mentality and the attitude that came with it as well.
Yeah, and he said something along the lines of, if you keep seeing that, then they've got an issue. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it's just a one-off. But before we go to talk about some potential better vibes ahead, we should let you know that today's live broadcast is brought to you by Good Vibes Giveaways. Good Vibes Giveaways are proud to sponsor Heart Standard and offer fantastic prizes to fans of the club. Prizes change weekly and include tech gadgets, days out, weekends away, tax-free cash, and even Oasis tickets. Get your tickets now at www.goodvibesgiveaways.com. Always struggle with that URL, and enter for your chance to spread the good vibes. You don't even need to say the www. But I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it because I have it on the script in front of me. And also, everyone, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. There's some of you that are watching who haven't. It just takes you a second. It's free, doesn't bother you ever again. And we are aiming for 2,000 by the end of the year. We're creeping up to it. We're within a couple hundred, so we've got a couple of weeks left for that. So any help with that would be fantastic. But back to the show.
Yeah, just on that, I was looking at I was bored on the bus to Tynecastle today for the press conference. I was looking at the YouTube analytics, and it says that 50% or 53% of people who watch don't subscribe. So yeah, if you're one of those 53%, please do subscribe, because we're trying to get this 2,000 mark before the New Year's up. There's at least something positive to target.
Well, you say that, Joe. You say that. You mentioned the press conference. We'll kind of go into that in a wee bit more detail as well. But there could be some positivity on the horizon. Hearts have the chance to capitalise on the good start that they had in this competition. And despite all the negativity in terms of the domestic form, the injuries. Just add to the list. Add to the list what you want of the kind of negativity that's swirling around at the moment. There's a real chance against beatable opposition at home here to progress and get like potentially another winnable or another plum draw or something like that in the knockout phase of this competition. Amazingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's different elements to it. I've actually been writing something around that just now. I'll add stuff from Craig Gordon and Critchley into the piece, just looking at the opportunity that Hearts have, the players have to the opportunity to grasp and have. I think you put it in the headline. A historic night. It is. I know it's against a Moldovan team, but it's a historic night. It'd be the first time Hearts have progressed from the group or league phase of European football. It'd be the first Scottish team to do it since Aberdeen, and their non-Old Firm team since 2008. I think it'd be the only second time since the groups in the league phase have been introduced into European football that a Scottish team outside Old Firm have done it. But a part of me is a wee bit not down or frustrated, just a wee bit maybe slightly disappointed, just because of you've got this opportunity, you've got this really exciting night under the lights at Tynecastle, but understandably the predicament on the shambles on Sunday and the predicament that the team find themselves in the league, it's kind of overshadowed the build-up. I mean, you just look at a couple of the comments here. James says not paid attention to anything Hearts on Sunday. Understandable. Might change tomorrow, but I'm burst at the thought of Hearts losing again tomorrow and out of Europe. We all are. And Jez says, thank you for the therapy session. It's getting me through until the potential horrors of tomorrow. And rather than, so you've gone from having won the first two games of the league phase and talking about, oh, you know what, we could potentially get a seat here and just go straight into the last 16, to now you're like, oh, people are dreading playing a Moldovan team at home just to get 3 points, to get a Moldovan team who are one of only two who've already knocked out the competition, to get into the knockout stage, which seemed a given. We had one foot in there after the first two games, and I am trying.
Seen that percentage slowly dwindle.
Yeah.
Percentage of going through to the next round dwindle. I think we were like 99.7% at one point or something.
Yeah. I'm going to read out a message that one of my pals put in a chat just on Ian's comment here. Given her, so Ian says, given our historic benevolence towards teams struggling for results, what are the odds we come out of the next two games with no points? And I'll just find the message my mate put in the other day. We should be like one of those no win, no fee radio adverts. Struggling for a win, can't defend, unable to score goals, will look no further than arranging a game with Heart of Midlothian Football Club. Not only will we make your defence look rock solid, we'll even gift you a handful of goals from. I'm not going to read that last bit because it has some offensive words in there. Subscribe now for a free 9-month hamstring injury to a Heart of Midlothian player of your choice. And it's that's I think that just kind of captures the mood of the fan base, it should, and goes back to my point about kind of being disappointed that such a big opportunity, such a big night has had some of that kind of luster taken away from it just because of how poor the league form's been. That game on Sunday, which followed the game in Copenhagen, where we just didn't pose a threat. And James, I can confirm it definitely wasn't a Mr. Warwick.
No points this week. I mean, I could very much see, given how this season's gone, I could very much see Hearts losing either game or struggling in either game, not winning in either game. But to do it in both, it'd be serious problems. I mean, you wrote something recently about whether it's a relegation battle or not, and you said it is. I mean, I know it's just pretty much a semantic game at this point, but I think Hearts' form is definitely relegation form. I think that's inarguable. I think where I would say it isn't is because of the way the league is, because I don't think it's settled enough yet. There's not been like a wee relegation battle cut off yet. You can still be in the top 6 after a couple of results, basically. And that goes for everybody in the bottom 6. I'm not just talking about Hearts here. You can see how Hibs went from bottom to 8th, and then Kilmarnock went from bottom to 8th at the weekend there. It is very tight. So nobody's been cut off in a relegation battle yet. But you can't argue that the form is relegation form.
Yeah, absolutely. But I still look at you look at the Thursday as being a big opportunity. The next 5 games are a huge opportunity, as well as Petrocub, which we'll come back on and try and be a bit more uplifting and upbeat and positive about, considering what's at stake. But you look beyond that, you've got St Johnstone at home, Hibs at home, Ross County away, Motherwell at home. So three games which at home we should be winning, and an away game at a ground where we have a half decent record or even a good record, where I just there's such a big opportunity to just like put Sunday behind and behind them, and then just go on a run, because that's what Hearts have not done this season. I know. The most the team have picked up in back-to-back games is 4 points. Not one back-to-back games in the league all season, and there's a possibility to use Thursday as to get a bit more feel-good factor in, win that, and you're like, right, brilliant, we've got a European game to look forward to in February. We're through. We've done something that Hearts have not done before in terms of kind of league phase or group stage football, and then you turn your attention to just picking up points in the league. And we've said it all along that it's so tight at the moment that we run, you automatically fly up the table. But at the same time, we've been saying it so much that you're kind of just almost expecting it to happen. And there's a massive difference between expectation and reality. And the reality is that the team have not been good enough to do that. And if it continues, then you talk about teams getting cut adrift. Eventually, someone will get cut adrift, you'd imagine, or at least a couple of teams would get cut adrift. And the 4 games coming up gives Hearts the opportunity to not get cut adrift.
But
you
no, I think that the games against Hibs are always tight. Just could go anyway. Motherwell, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, yes, everything else being equal, we should be looking to win those games. But the way this season's gone, there's just no guarantee that there's going to be any kind of run of form right now. I was thinking about it before you said it, but how many times have we been here and said it before? Because there is potential there. We've seen it even under Critchley, even with the deficiencies in the squad. There's potential there. The last 2 matches, albeit one was against very good opposition, the last one's the first time we've come away without a win and nothing in a performance to even be like no mitigating factors, nothing, just outright pathetic. You know what I mean? It's the first time we've said it. So yeah, hopefully it is. Hopefully it is a one-off. But like to go back to what I was trying to say about like I mentioned the Hibs and the Motherwell game there. The games this week, I mean, these are like, without knowing too much about the Moldovan game, it's the Moldovan team. Sorry, it's a game that we should be winning. St Johnstone at home, that's an easy a league fixture as you could pick, and it's a game that we just absolutely have to be winning. Not to jump ahead too much with Thursday night, but just briefly before we do move on to it, I mean, it's just unthinkable. There's a real problem if we don't come away with 3 points against St Johnstone, given the state of their squad and how they can't keep the ball out of the net.
Both games this week are must win, and must win in 2 different categories. So Thursday's must win because my expectation is that even if you draw on Thursday, I think you're asking a lot from the other fixtures for the to go in your favour. I think you need like six other results to go in your favour if you draw, and with the way the goal difference is, it's not ideal. So we
didn't want to be messing with that.
Yeah, so that
although some of that might become clearer by the time we play. I didn't know if you noticed how many of those matches are the earlier kickoff.
No, they all kick off at 8.
Or is it all at the same time?
Yeah, they're all at the same time. So
right, because they do that for I suppose there's rules for that stuff, isn't there? Sorry.
So yeah, that's a must win, and just win it and you're through. So that's a must win category. The Sunday it falls in the must win category, not because failing to win and it's you're like, oh well, that's like there's still loads of games to be able to make up the gap, etc. But the perception and the optics around it, if Hearts fail to win St Johnstone, and just the noise that builds up, that's why I would class that as that is a must-win game. That being said, going into the derby, where everyone's like, "This is disastrous," having not beaten St Johnstone, not beating Petrocub, not beating Kilmarnock, I'd actually be more confident winning the derby from that end, where there's an expectation that Hibs might do something. But Petrocub's first, and I think they will play in a manner which should hopefully help Hearts, especially with maybe a fast start and kind of get in their face, where I think they might be similar to Ammonia, in that they'll look to try and build out from the back. And if that's all they'll do.
You're going to make it look like I'm plagiarising you now. I have written these exact words for my predicted 11, so I'm just going to get that out there before people think I'm just nicking it off you for tomorrow. But I've already written those exact words. Given the previews that you had, the hard work that you had put in with the previews, sounded like they're not going to give up their principles and maybe try and pass it out. They're not going to outmuscle us, so they're going to try and be technical about it. And I referenced the Ammonia game, the 4-4-2. I think instead it'll be if I remember correctly, because I left a note to kind of fact check it before I actually publish it. But Spittle played just off, pretty much played as a second striker that night, didn't he? So I reckon maybe him to the left. I don't know who comes in alongside Shankland. That's kind of the conclusion I've come to with the predicted 11, is you can, other than injuries, you can pretty much pick the team other than every week the other forward and the right winger. We don't exactly know who it'll be. Probably be Forrest, because it's just always Forrest, isn't it? I said this the last time and you said, no, probably not. And then it was for Sunday. I
was surprised, as I said, on I think in Marco and on when I did the video on Sunday, I was surprised that both Vargas and Forrest started. I think you go for, like you said, Spittle on the left, and I think you go for Shankland and Wilson. With Musa ineligible, I just think Wilson with his energy, his willingness to run in behind, is going to stretch the game. I just think they should work well together, like they did against Dundee. And you need, I just think you need to move Spittle back to the left, him and Penrice linking up, and then you need obviously legs through the centre. And Wilson gives you that in abundance, gives you a goal threat as well. So you've got two guys who can score goal, get into goal scoring positions through the centre, and then on the right. I would go for.
While you're thinking, somebody, Jay the Jambo said 4-2-4. I should say, when I said 4-4-2, I might have said 4-4-2, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the two, like, basically everybody pressed up against them and just cause havoc for them from the start. But yeah, the right sided forward is an issue. His default seems to be Forrest, because he gets a level of somebody's just preempted me there, but we'll get to that. Yep. Forrest seems to be his default, because I think he gets a level of sort of work rate and do you know what I mean? There's like a baseline you sort of get there from him. Vargas is a bit more sort of mercurial, and is it time to have a curveball in Oda? I mean, I don't want to, as James Govan has suggested, I don't want to fall foul of this. A player gets better the longer he's kind of out or not involved or something like that. But given what happened with Musa and kind of the energy and what he brought, and that Oda is one of the few players with pace, maybe it's worth a shout. I mean, and it's because I don't think anybody else is really.
No one's done. Yeah, exactly.
And so if Oda's fit enough, then maybe he does warrant a start. But without seeing training from week day to day and not knowing the exact match sharpness of Oda, you can't say for certain. Only Critchley would know that, really.
Yeah, I mean, I would go for Oda. Just, I'm not been on record before. I'm not his biggest fan, just because I think he's frustrating with the attributes that he has, and then just I think sometimes you're not doing enough. But what I do like about Oda is, and as Cal says here, I'm really keen to see what Oda's like under Neil Critchley's coaching. But Oda's really good at getting into the back, at the back post, picking up good positions in the box and becoming a goal threat. I just want him to be. Would like to see him being more direct, more positive when he gets the ball. And he's someone else who will add a bit of pace to the front line and plenty of energy as well. So I think that gives you a nice balance in attack where you've got Spittle coming in off the left, you've got Oda being able to stretch it, Wilson being able to stretch it horizontally, Wilson stretching it vertically, and then Shanklin be able to drop off and play in the hole. And then I think the only other talking point for starting is just in midfield, depending on who's
Devlin and one other. It's Devlin and one other, Joe.
Do you bring in Tate, because Boateng's not been at it the last couple of games? I
don't know. So here, this is kind of, I was going to bring this up.
And then do you wait on Beni?
So I'll bring this up. Beni, I'm not sure, but again, it comes down to there's no point risking him, I don't think.
Yes.
I think if he's fit enough to play him for what he's fit enough to play. But don't risk him in any kind of way. I don't think the game's as big that we need to. The league games are more important. So somebody here saying surely Neil Critchley has to change the team after. I mean, I don't disagree with this. Putting the predicted 11 together today, I won't reveal everything that I've put in it, but it's looking fairly similar. I have to say yes. So I would just put this as a question then for you, Joel, and for me and for the comments. But which fringe players have justified being given a go? I'm not meaning this to be argumentative. I'm just genuinely asking this question. Like, have players like Grant shown enough? Is it a case of just giving more youngsters a go? Because it's a fine balance with doing that with youngsters. It's not just a case of, oh, this guy's shown it at a certain level and he's ready to make that step. We throw him in while we're in a relegation battle and we move on one game in 8, is it, or something like that? So yeah, I mean, it's a fine balance with young players. So are there any obvious players that we should be getting into the team that Critchley maybe hasn't given enough minutes to?
I would say point to the two youngsters. So we've seen Tate before. You know what he's about. I mean, midfield's not been the biggest issue at the club this season. But I know Boateng's he's been off the ball the last couple of games, but largely I've been relatively impressed with him. Then you got Beni, but I think the issue recently has been kind of bringing off like Grant off the bench when he just like, is he going to be here for the long term? And has he done enough to justify playing in the short term? I would say probably no to both. And then that's where you're thinking, right, maybe bring Tate on instead of him and give him minutes, or alternatively, and I've harped on about him a long time just because I think he offers something that no one else really has in the Hearts 11, and it's Callum Sandilands. Again, it's a big jump up from lower league to playing in Europe and the Premiership. But he's a guy,
Come on the right.
Yeah, well, he's a midfielder. He can play in different positions. He can play different central positions. He's played wider, but he's best probably through the middle, breaking lines, getting up in support of the strikers or getting beyond the strikers. His in terms of his goal involvements and for the B team of the last 3 seasons has been really, really good, really positive. And he's in, even when I've seen him in lower league games where he's not had a great all round performance, but he's still impacted games. He's one of those players that even if he's on the periphery, he'll still do something to impact the game. So they're the two youngsters, because we've seen Forrester get plenty of minutes and Wilson get minutes. Those are the two that are probably knocking on the door the most. Beyond that, you've seen it with, like, you could bring Boyce in and play him more. You could bring Mackay in and play him more. You could bring Grant and play him more. Will that? A lot of fans probably be very unhappy if Critchley did that. I think the only other one that you could look at, and apologies if I'm missing someone out, but Salazar. I think I had a conversation with someone on Blue Sky or Twitter about. He mentioned, I think it was a guy called Barry. He mentioned playing Salazar in front of Penrice. I would actually do the opposite way. Penrice has played left wing for Livy, and then you play Salazar at left back. But I mean, when you're discussing about moving around left backs to play one as a winger, it's you're really stretching.
Kind of need cover as well.
Yeah,
Salazar one's interesting though, because it might be forced into some minutes at some point. Penrice went down at one point on Sunday. He's not immune to picking up any kind of injury or knocks or anything like any other player, or a suspension or whatever. So, or just with the amount of games that there just might have to be some sort of rotation or him brought off towards the end of a match or something. So it will be interesting to see if Salazar is where it happens, because you think it would happen at some point. You can't just run Penrice into the ground, and he has kind of. Who knows what the reason is, because you could say it, but Boateng as well. Spittle, maybe it's like a player of the month thing. It's like a player of the month curse. But
yeah.
No, I'm talking about the last couple of games, especially Boateng and Penrice have been off it where they kind of haven't before, where they've kind of put in performances even when the team's been playing poorly or not winning in the past. Those have been two that have kind of kept a level of performance, whereas even they've let it dip the last couple of games.
I'm always nostalgic, and still have. I found myself sitting on Saturday thinking, it's like, do you go with Barry Mackay for a wee bit and just kind of hope something sparks? I know people will be listening to this like, you have lost the plot, or even like Boyce, would he have been a better option as a central figure, focal point than the Musa against Kilmarnock?
That seemed to be,
and it's just like
B on Sunday, wasn't it? I don't know if that was pre-prepared or whether like if this doesn't work, then we'll try this kind of thing. And he kind of went with a Boyce and Wilson. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I don't want to go back to it or anything, but just to say briefly that it just shows you how important Shanklin is, even when he's not doing that well in front of goal. It just shows you how good a focal point he is for your attack, and how there's a real lack of options without him. But that's old and tired ground, and even Neil Critchley's not arguing against that case or anything like that. So that's something that actually takes us in nicely to something that was brought up at the press conference today, and that's the plans for January. I don't think there's anything new on what the targets are, but we got kind of a wee bit more from Critchley today, namely what I've just kind of said about there are obvious areas that need to be strengthened.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting, because I was intrigued, so I asked him about what the approach is in January, because you've got so January's hard, and with the way the recruitment's going with Jamestown, they're obviously looking at guys who will kind of be here longer term, and you're kind of wanting to improve them. I'm just wondering how that is going to look in January. Are they going to be signing players who basically are they coming in for the long term, signing for like 2-3 year deals and then, or maybe longer, or are they going to be just looking to bring in the guys who can help in the here and now? Because let's face it, I think the here and now is awfully important because of the situation the team finds itself in. So I did expect the answer of a bit of both when he answered, and like you said, it's it's just finding that, getting that balance right, essentially. But I think probably the most important, most interesting thing he said was, if you look at our squad and where we're at in certain areas of the pitch, it's been well documented before I arrived of certain areas of the pitch that we need to strengthen in. I'm not sure why I can't say the word pitch. I don't think I would be disagreeing with those assessments. So essentially, everyone knew that Hearts needed another striker and more pace in the final third, and that's obviously a key target, as is a centre back. I think a centre back was certainly something the club were looking at even before the injuries to Kent and Kingsley. I just think it's become more of a priority now than it was before. So yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's kind of looking to January, and it's we've been in this position before where it's like, right, get to January, bring players in, and it'll make a difference. And it's not as easy as that. You're having to get kind of, usually when you're talking about percentages of getting recruitment right, you're needing to get above, like we always kind of just talk 50%. You're needing to hit on them more than 50%. So yeah, it'll be fascinating, because everyone knows that Hearts needs work done in January.
And they don't just arrive on January 1st. It doesn't always work like that either. Famously goes to the death on the last day quite a lot of the times for some transfers. Yeah. So, and there's no winter break, so it's not like there's going to be a couple of weeks of no games either. So, it's all very much up in the air, and just in every sorry, I can't speak now. In every respect, it's very much up in the air, and who's coming in, how easy it's going to be, when it's going to happen, how quickly of an impact they'll have, how many are short-term fixes versus long-term. But even Neil Critchley mentioned something about that priorities change and things. So, for instance, it could be that they were already looking to bring in one defender in January, and now there'll be that and a lone defender or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but
I mean, they've been. So yeah, it's never just straightforward as in, right, as soon as it's January 1st, you sign them. But they've been preparing and identifying targets for a while now. So it's not like it's just in the last few weeks they've started doing it. This has been going on the last couple of months. As soon as kind of Critchley came in and identified where we need to strengthen, that kind of started with a striker, and it's developed into a centre back as well. So it's at least there's plans, and the hope is that they've advanced into those stages where those players are able to be brought in at the start of the window rather than towards the end, because towards the end and then you're looking like not got that many games until split, etc. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And you also with the potential cash bonanza that comes with tomorrow's game, getting through it, that might help matters as well.
So is there anything else that you want to add ahead of tomorrow's game? I think we didn't really fully. No, we did cover the team news. We didn't specifically talk about Beni Baningime, but there wasn't too much said. It's just seems to always be the same with Beni Baningime, that he's out. It doesn't look like it's going to be that long, and then it's next week, and then it's another week, and it's another week, and then some point it just appears again. So it seems we're in that phase again with Beni Baningime. But was there anything else you wanted to add from today's press conferences or ahead of?
No, I'm like I said, I'm writing something up on it, and I just think it's a massive game. I think it's really it's both exciting and important. Like, exciting because yes, there's money involved, but just looking ahead as being a Hearts fan and being and just looking ahead to February and thinking, oh, I've got another European trip, and you're in the knockout stages. It's just a really exciting position to be in, and you never know what position Hearts are going to be in come February, especially with January, and then being able to add players to the squad, could be in a much better position, more confident, and potential teams that we could face, or there'll be some who we fancy our chances against more than others, and you've got potential to win that and get through. So I think that's all really exciting. But we started with negativity, so I may as well end on a negative point. But my thing is, beware, and I'll just say one word, and that's where you have to caution against Barcacara.
Yeah, the timing of it's weird because it's off the back of this Kilmarnock game. There are many problems, there are many issues that we've kind of been over. Some here, we've been over them in the past, and we'll go over them in future. But yeah, this is a chance to just enjoy. I mean, what would be a decent points haul regardless? I mean, when the draw was made, if you said 9 points, that would be like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, everyone
were talking about 7. So 9 points would be good, despite the fact that we've lost to the 3 teams that are ranked higher than us. You can look at the Copenhagen one, was obviously a really poor performance. The Heidenheim one, thought we performed well for a half in that. Circle, I thought we matched them. They I don't want to say lucky. Like they got the ball in the net a couple of times and we didn't, basically. But I don't think there was too much between us on the night. But still, that was a disappointing one. But even with those disappointments, I still think that to win 3 matches and to qualify for the knockouts for the first time, and again with the caveat of this weird format, I still think it's something worth enjoying and celebrating if it does happen. And it's just weird. It feels weird right now that the excitement's dampened by the fact that I just trade it all to be like 6 more places up the league and not talking about this bloody bad domestic run every week.
I will.
Bloody. It sounded terrible saying that, but I'm just holding back from swearing. Sorry.
But no, I think Hearts are at a level where we should be able to do both, as in be challenging up the top end of the pitch, top end of the league, and being able to get through this Conference League group rather than at one or the other. But it's exciting. But like you said, you summed up well. It's weird timing. But if we get through 9 points, I think it's really successful. Conference League campaign, and then you can just focus efforts on the league and hope that the next 4 games see us go up the table before a couple of tricky away games, and then come February, hope you're in Europe, but in a much better position.
Here. We'll leave it there, Joel. Just before we go, once again, a wee plug. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 2,000 by the end of the year, and we are very close. We're very close, so any help would be appreciated. Check out everything at heartstandard.co.uk. We will be back tomorrow night with plenty of reaction on the website of the game, however it goes, and we will, don't call it a comeback, but we will be on the plaza doing a reaction video tomorrow for the first time in a wee while. I can't remember the last time. We've been avoiding each other, so the first time in a wee while we've done that. But yes, we will see you all then.